There's a problem with mixing instruments in a live venue. Unless it's a string quartet or jazz ensemble, the music will sound very different to a studio recording. This isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it's quite likely that the sound will simply be dull and lifeless, despite the best efforts of the musicians. So it's important to be able to put some of the polish back into the sound. It's always there in lush productions that come out of the recording studio. You can do this using effects, and we're going to look at a few of them now. Reverb is the most commonly used studio effect, and it's probably the most essential. It simulates an acoustic environment that's not available physically at the time. Different types of music and different types of instruments work best with specific types of reverberation.
Don't take no notice, keep walking by.
There's no substitute for experimentation here, and it's a good idea to listen closely to recordings to see how reverb and other effects have been used. Things are a little more complicated in a live venue because it will have its own reverb characteristics. Unfortunately, you can't artificially turn down the reverb in a venue that has too much of it. What you have to do is find the best combinations of levels, EQ and artificial reverb to complement the natural acoustics. Here's a basic rule to get you started. Don't put much reverb, if any, on low-frequency sounds like bass guitars and bass drums. All you'll end up with is a muddy sound, completely lacking any sort of punch. Delay is often used to thicken a sound by taking the original audio, delaying it by a very short amount, and then mixing it back with the original. It's sometimes used in a live context to simulate double tracking in a studio, where the same vocal line is sung twice or more and then mixed together. Echo is a longer delay that you can use on vocals, guitars, or even flutes. These days, the length of the delay is often matched to the tempo of the song. Chorus and flanging are produced by very short delays. Flanging also uses feedback to give a deeper, richer effect. Chorus is used a lot on guitars, and flanging is very effective on electric pianos. Both work very well on synth sounds, especially artificial strings, where modulation, which is a slow variation of the delay time, can create a swirling effect full of movement. Remember, if you're using a mono PA system, make sure these effects sound okay when they're not in stereo. Sometimes you can lose the effect, or even the whole sound, unexpectedly because of this. To set up an effect unit, first connect it to the mixer. Go back to the Input Devices section to see how to do this. Set the unit to give a full wet signal. Go to the channel you're working on and set the effect's post-fade auxiliary send to maximum. Select AFL on your auxiliary master and set it so that the meters read 0.
Tell us your secret, so won't you fly, my butterfly.
Adjust the input level on the effects unit until its meters read 0. If you do this, you can use the mixer AFL meters to monitor the effects levels because you'll have calibrated them together. Release all AFL buttons and adjust the effect return controls until the effect sounds right in the context of the whole mix. Effects units are always used on post-fade auxiliaries, so that the amount of signal being sent to the effects unit is proportional to the position of the fader. If this didn't happen, you'd end up still hearing the effect, even when the dry sound was faded out.